second paragraph, that's line 3. We were speaking about how the Yedidus and Neshama is for dealing with Chelke Ba'olam, or to impact the part of the person in the world, and that's the idea of Ki Yipked Moshivecha, to bring bittul into the place where it's the Moshav, where it comes down and is settled down here. And in addition to that, we spoke beforehand, that's the idea of the Yeridol Tzorech Aliyah. That's also similar to the beginning of this week's parsha that says, Su is Rosh Bnei Yisrael Gilguloisam, that we are raising up even the Rosh all the way to the level of Gilgulos, which is Yechida, and even higher. So now he's going to continue in the topic of Venifkadata. It says Venifkadata, that you will be remembered Ki Yipked Moshivecha, because your seat will be empty. What is the idea of remembrance? So again, line 3, page 5, page test. Through the avodah that the person descends even into Moshivecha, even into the level of the guf and the nefesh bahamis, and also Chelke Ba'olam, Nimshach ha'inyan, the Venifkadata, comes down the idea that you will be remembered. Shu inyan hazikaron l'maylos, the idea of the remembrance above. By first prefacing Habir b'inyan hatzorech lifel inyan hazikaron l'maylo, explaining first the need to affect the idea of remembrance above. The l'chura in the movement, seemingly it's not understood. There's no forgetfulness before your throne of glory. In other words, Hashem doesn't forget anything. And how does the whole idea of remembering apply? Remembering applies where there's either actual forgotten, or at least the possibility for forgetting, but more particularly when there's something forgotten. So it says, the idea behind this is the reason why there's a need for remembrance. That's because of the lack of occupation of space, the importance and the value of the creations. Not only are they considered like nothing, with the letter Chaf that indicates that it's something that it's only like, it's not actually so, but rather in a way that he's actually not, the Nivroim are actually not considered like nothing, considered nothing. To be able to affect the idea of remembrance in such a level, in such a level that all the worlds do not have any importance whatsoever, through nullifying the yesh, through the idea that we spoke about before, that your seat will be empty, that there will be the bittul, which we explained before is the idea of Yipked, the emptiness is the level of bittul, Moshivecha, even down here below. So he explains, what is it about bittul yesh that affects this type of concept that there should be able to be the zikaron even in a place where the Nivroim do not have any tfisis makom. The idea behind this is, like it's known, the explanation what the Chazal say. It is greater the actions of tzaddikim than the actions of the heavens and earth. The B'riyas Shemayim v'Aretz Hima'ayin Liyesh, the creation of heavens and earth, that Hashem takes from nothing and turns it into something. V'ilu Ma'aseh Tzaddikim, as opposed to the actions of tzaddikim. And tzaddikim does not mean like some holy Jew sitting in Yerushalayim, but it means the koyal avodas kol Yisrael, like the Rebbe always emphasizes, where it says the actions of tzaddikim is referring to avodah of all Yidden, as it says, Amich kum tzaddikim, your nation are entirely, all of them are tzaddikim. So what's the action of tzaddikim? He bebitul hayesh la'ayin. It is taking the yesh and making it nullified to the ayin, meaning it's transforming mi yesh la'ayin, that the yesh should become into an ayin. So Hashem made the ayin into a yesh. The Yidden reversed that. And the Rebbe explains, okay, fine, What about it? So he says, Shezo inyan naila yoser b'li shamayim v'aretz ma'ili yesh. Turning the yesh into the ayin is higher and greater than turning the ayin into a yesh. Al derech ma'amer Hazal, similar to what the Chazal say, Godel ha'yahanes ha'achron yosem ha'arishan, it was greater, the final miracle, than the first miracle. The story was with Reb Chanina ben Doisa, that we know that Reb Chanina ben Doisa was an extremely poor individual, and his wife once complained to him and said, how long are we going to suffer in such poverty? And so Reb Chanina ben Doisa turned to her and said, what do you want from me? What else? What do you want me to do? So she said, daven. You've got connections up there. Daven, ask Hashem to release us from poverty. So there was Hashem responded. There was like a palm of a hand that stretched out from the heavens and deposited a golden leg of a table. Afterwards, Mrs. Reb Chanina ben Doisa, who initiated this entire thing, saw in a dream that there's tzaddikim that are sitting at a table, golden tables with 3 legs, and she and her husband are sitting and eating on a table with only 2 legs. When she told over the story to the dream to Reb Chanina, he told her, "What are you happy with everyone else eating on a complete table, and we're going to be sitting at a table that's missing? Because that golden leg that came down from heaven came from our table in Gan Eden." So she told him back, so what are we going to do? Let's daven that they should take it away. So he davened, and they took it back. Shemayim took it back. So the Gemara says about this, let's continue back inside the text, that why was the Gemara says about it, that why is the final miracle that they took it back greater than the initial miracle? From heaven they only give, they do not take. No returns. What you get. So, and in a similar vein, it's yesh me'ayin is like heaven giving, turning the clock back, turning the yesh back into an ayin is like returning it to heaven. That's a greater miracle. So it says, line 22, mitzad goyd lamayla shabin bitla yesh, because the great quality and advantage of nullifying the yesh, afal pichis havas hayesh hagashmi, hirak b'koyach zeh shemitzius u'matzmusay, though the coming into being of the physical yesh is only by the power of the fact that its very being comes from itself. It's not caused by any prior cause preceding him. Heaven forbid. In other words, Hashem is someone that is not any prior cause, and therefore the yesh hagashmi also looks like it has no prior cause. Mikol makim, despite that, harehu poyel bitol hayesh. This yesh that has this unbelievable source, it comes from Hashem's very essence. The yid nullifies that yesh. Until an ultimate state of bittul, ba'ofen shel bittul b'metzias, top of page yud, in a way that's completely nullified. So that causes that, despite the fact that we are insignificant, is hine inyan zeh toifes malkin kaviyachol, so such a thing has value and occupies importance. Gam b'bchinas tekul kamek lachshav mamish, even on a level that everything before him is considered like nothing. And there should be the idea of remembrance, like it says in the Haftarah, ונפקדת, you'll be remembered. Ois daled. Zeu gam inyan b'midbar Sinai, shal yodoi nasa inyan d'oil moed. This is also the correlation between the wilderness of Sinai, and through that we get to oil moed, just like Kishem Shaydei Yipkad Moshivecha Nasa Venifkadata, just like Yipkad Moshivecha, which we said is Bitla Yesh, comes about the Venifkadata, you will be remembered, meaning that we have now Metzias B'Hashem, The same type of relationship is between Bamidbar Sinai and Oil Moed. So the Rebbe continues, the idea behind this is, why is it called Sinai? Because hate, enmity, descended to the nations of the world. Even though Sinai is spelled with a samach and Sinai is spelled with a sin, but the similar pronunciations is always used in a drasha fashion by the Chazal. This means there is such an existence called the nations of the world. Torah makes it in such a way that there's a hate to the nations of the world. The simple pshat in this Maimon Chazal is that the nations hate the Jewish people. That's what descended on the world. Here the explanation is that we are undoing the idea of world. We are like hating world, as he soon can explain. So he says in line 10, it says that the Torah is might and tushia. Tushia is from the word tosh, weakness. Though seemingly ois and tushia are two opposites, they're contradictory. Like it's explained in Torah, it's might and strength for the godly soul, and it's a weakening, and it lessens, decreases the body and the animal soul, that it weakens the power and strength of a person, the power of the body and the animal soul. That is the content of what it means that Sinai brought down and brought about a hatred to the nations of the world. Perhaps it's connected with that. Because we are weakening the world, we are weakening the Gashmis of the world. That is the reason why the other explanation comes into being, that they hate us as well. Maybe they never spoke about this, I don't remember. Anyway, getting back to the Maimer itself, the Bamidbar Sinai, the idea of Bamidbar Sinai is in the Inyan, the Hamidbar Kmeshakosov, the idea of a wilderness is like it says, Eretz Asher Lo Yoshav Adam Sham. The Torah describes a wilderness. It's a land that no man settled there. What does it mean no man has settled there? Hainu Shezeo Mokim, such a place, Sha'adam Hamiti, the true man. Adam Ha'elyon Shalakisei, the supernal man that sits upon the heavenly throne, meaning Hashem. He's incapable of being over there settled. It's not inhabitable, Kaviyachol, for Hashem. It's not a place where Hashem is comfortable in. Since it's not a place that the supernal man has settled over there, therefore also the man down here below, that he is likened to above, he cannot be over there in a way that's settled. From this comes about the wilderness of Sinai, that because Hashem cannot be settled there, and a Yid by extension cannot be settled there because he's like Hashem, so that's why he hates. It's something that the worldliness of the world is something that he removed from himself. The idea of wilderness, which is the opposite of a place that's civilized, a place that humanity, human beings settle. It affects the hatred to the nations of the world, to worldliness, to the animal soul, etc. That's the idea of sublimating the klippah and nullifying the yesh of the klippah. That's identical to what we said before, that the place where you're settled over there, you make a yipakid, you make an absence, you make a bittul over there. And just like the yipakid meshavecha results in something positive, the same thing, the midbar Sinai results in something positive. Through that happens afterwards, you will be remembered, the level of the tent of meeting. What does that mean? The netevas moyed. What's the idea of the word moyed? Moyed is the idea of Meloshoin v'noyadati l'chasham. It's the idea that I will meet with you over there, just like a person makes a meeting. When he sets up a meeting, you set aside a time, you set aside a place. We will meet at this place and this time. So that's the idea of v'noyadati l'cha. That has to do with moyed. Is an additional idea that v'noyadati or moyed has to do with sh'noyadati hu oisius v'noydaiti. The word v'noyadati is also the same letters like the word I will become known. The idea of das. It's the idea that it says that her husband is known in the gates. The husband is going on Hashem, which is the husband of Klal Yisrael, becomes known to the Yid through the different sha'arim. Not important over here right now to get into that. So it says, what is that noida? So that noida is a result from first, that is the idea of the avoida of understanding, comprehension, and godliness. That's a result of the level of bina. He meditates and contemplates on Hashem. Top of page Yud Aleph. Not only the lower level of bina, vafilu havana vasaga shemsad b'chiras hachachma. Even the understanding and comprehension, that's a result of the level of chachma. Still in all, it's only inner soul powers. It's only the soul powers that are limited. After there's the level of moyed, after there's both those words, which indicate the connection that comes about through the koiches pnimiyim, through chachma and bina. Then the revelation comes down from a higher level, from the level that's transcendent and encompassing. There is the oihel of the moyed, the tent of the moyed. The oil, the tent, is something that's transcendent and encompassing. So through the Midbar Sinai, we get the revelations of Chachma, Bina, V'noyadati, V'noydaiti, and then even higher, the level of Makif. All this occurs after the prefacing of the Avodah of the wilderness of Sinai in a way of sublimation and nullifying the Yesh. Then comes to a level of the tent of meeting. Through this, is similar to the idea that through the bittul, that your seat will be empty, which shows on the bittul of the guf and of Shabbahamis. Then it comes the idea of your being remembered. I say, since all of this has to be in the void of the neshama, the way it descended down here below, how they move, and so it's understood. This can only occur through the giving of the Torah. Because prior to Matan Torah there was the decree, the ones above should not descend below, and the ones below should not descend above. Actually, it says it in the flip side order. Through the giving of the Torah, there was the nullification of the decree. And not just any type of nullification, but in such a way that Hashem says, I will begin this process of removing this separation between above and below. Like it says, Havai descend on Har Sinai. He said, go up, etc. Hashem descended and Moshe Rabbeinu ascended, so there was the joining of the above and below. The preparation for this is the time between Pesach, the time of our freedom, Ta'atzeres, the time of our giving of our Torah. Pesach and Matan Torah are connected one with each other. The Matan Torah, the idea of going out of Mitzrayim, was a preparation for the giving of the Torah. Like it says, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu when the burning bush, that when you take this nation out of Mitzrayim, you will serve you will serve Hashem at this mountain. So it's one continuation. And the Rebbe says another thing that indicates and is the preparation for this is a miyuchad b'Shabbosos, especially so the Shabbosim are a preparation for the nullification of the decree and the preparation for the Bit Layesh that occurs through Matan Torah. B'Shabbosos shebehem noigim loymar Pirkei Avos. In Shabbosim, that the custom is to say Pirkei Avos in Shabbos. Like the Alter Rebbe writes in the Siddur. Including also the Mishnah that it says in Pirkei Avos in the second chapter, make his will like your will, so he should make your will like his will. And and nullify your will before his will, etc. Let's explain to the Mamorim about this statement. Initially, at the beginning of a person's service to Hashem, he has his own separate will, and even though he has his own will, he still makes the will of Hashem in a way of nullifying and sublimating his will. As opposed to the next phrase, nullify your will, it's about completely removing your will. He will not have his own independent will whatsoever. Only one will to Hashem alone. The idea of transforming the clippers. This is also what it says in the third month. And this day they came Midbar Sinai. Like the Alter Rebbe explains in Torah, immediately then, at the first day of Sivan, the Jews became Yisrael Muchanim Kabbalas HaTorah. The Yidden became prepared for the giving of the Torah. And afterwards it came out in a revealed way in actuality at the sixth day of Sivan, and the language of the Pasuk at the third day of the 3 days of the boundary, that the preparation for Matan Torah. What's the significance? That on that day they were already ready, in the first month of the 3 months of that time, in the month of Nisan, there was the idea that the nation had to run away, because it was only in a way of Iskafia that they had only sublimated the clipper. Year afterwards came the second month, the month of Iyar, it's called the month called Ziv. One of the names is Ziv. Pirush Ziv. The meaning of Ziv is light. It means a ray. That's the idea of transforming. So Nisan is Iskafia, and Iyar, the avoid of Iyar, is to attain Ishapcha, transformation. Afterwards comes the third month, the month of Sivan. That's the union of the above and below and below and above. That's what it means they spoke in Midbar Sinai in that tenth of meaning. In the first day of the second month, in other words, Chodesh Iyar, already in the month of Iyar, there's both aspects, the Midbar Sinai, the wilderness of Sinai, that the person is doing Bit Layesh, like we spoke about earlier. In the tenth of meeting, the revelation that's in the transcendent state. Afterwards, in the oil moed becomes, I will become known, and I will meet. That indicates coming down in the level of Das. That's for Nedaiti. Also the idea of the union of above and below. Just like it says Adam Yoda, that Das is the idea of joining in unity. That's the idea that oil moed is called the bedroom, because the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's brought down, the pasuk was called the bedroom. Shesham Nasa Yichud the Zerampim Venukva Yud Gimel, because it's like the union and the mating in the spiritual sense of the male and the female, of the level of Midas and Malchus. It's also the two kruvim that were in the oil moed in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Like it's explained in Torah, in the actual handwritten manuscript of the Alter Rebbe, that each kruv represented a different thing. One kruv represented Zeir Ampin, which is the end of the Ein Sof. The other kruv represented Malchus, the beginning of the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah. So it's the union of Zoh and Malchus, the union of Hashem and the worlds. That's also the idea of raise up the heads to their skulls. The level of the skulls is a transcendent. Not only is he transcendent and encompassing, but it also protects, just like the physical skull protects. Like it says in Kunstzeitz Chaim, even those that their avodah is in the lower level of bittul, the lower unity. So the Yichudei law has to be also the avodah of Yichudei law, at least a glimpse of it, at least learning about it and trying to strive for it. Of the higher level of unity, she's a megan al avodah di Yichudei, it protects the avodah of Yichudei law. There is missing the conclusion of this mimer.